Hey, what's up? My name is Alex and welcome to English Rewind. Today is another episode of Listening and Reading Comprehension. We are going to start with English Rewind newsletter number 11. Okay, let's get into it. English Rewind, newsletter 11, The Great Outdoors. Basic English. Some people love nature. Other people love city life. Both have their own benefits. Things are much easier when living in the city. You can find everything you need. You're surrounded by technology. Living outdoors is different. It's not as easy as the big city, but it too has benefits. It's more peaceful. It's a lot calmer. It's better for your health. There's more fresh air. It can also be more relaxing. You learn to enjoy the simple. Oh, sorry about that. You learn to enjoy the simple things in life. Okay, let's move to the advanced English. You get two types of people. Those who love the outdoors and those who don't. Some people prefer city life, whereas others love being surrounded by nature. Both have their own benefits. The nice thing about living in the city is the ease of life. You're always close to everything you need. You don't have to go far to find what you're looking for. Living outdoors is different. You're in the wild. You don't have all the conveniences of the big city. But there's one big benefit: peace and quiet. Being surrounded by nature is calming and good for your health. You get to breathe fresh air. You're able to slow down and relax. You're no longer distracted by the always busy city life. You learn to enjoy the simple things in life. Okay, a couple of keywords that were made use of in this advanced section. Let's quickly look at those. The first one was nature, which we saw first here. Some people love nature. So nature is basically the outdoors, plants, animals, and landscape, things not made by man. So when we talk about nature, we're talking about the trees, the birds, being outside, away from the big city. So in the example sentence we see here, they were destroying nature so that they could build their cities. The second keyword was benefit, the noun, which we saw being used in both have their own benefits. So when we talk about a benefit, it's an advantage or a profit gain from something. So in the sentence where we said both have their own benefit, we said that we talked about there's people that live in nature, people that love living in an area that's surrounded by nature, and then we have people that love living in the big city away from nature. Now, both have their own benefit means that both have things that are special about them. Both have things which are unique about them. So they both have things that are good about them, and those things would be the benefit. Benefit is an advantage or a profit gain from something. So if there's advantage, like the benefit of being rich is that you can buy whatever you want. So that's an advantage. That's something that's good. So that's something that's special about it. When you're rich, you have the benefit of being able to buy whatever you want. The next word was surrounded, which was used here in some people prefer city. No, wait, this one. Let's take this one. You're surrounded by technology. When you're surrounded by something, it means it's basically all around you, to be all around something or someone. So the sun is surrounded by planets because remember, you have the sun in the middle, and all around the sun, you have all these planets. So the sun is surrounded by planets, or the enemy surrounded the city, meaning we have the city and the enemy soldiers are around the city. That's what it means to surround something. So you're basically just all around it, everywhere around it. Prefer. To like one thing more than another, which we saw here when we said that some people prefer city life. So that just means some people like city life more as opposed to living in nature. So prefer is liking something more than you like something else. It's usually comparing one thing to another. I prefer winter instead of summer. I prefer listening to speaking. So I prefer listening to speaking means I prefer to listen instead of talking, instead of speaking. So you like the one more than the other. You prefer it. Ease of life. How comfortable which means how comfortable your life is. We saw it here with the nice thing about living in the city is the ease of life. So that basically means that the nice thing about living in the city is how easy your life becomes because you're close to medicine, you're close to a lot of food, you have a warm house to stay in. So the ease of life, meaning how easy it is to live, how easy your life is high. So there's a high ease of life. The nice thing about living in the city is the ease of life. The ease of life in this country is high. Everyone is happy and healthy. So if it was a country where basic things weren't being provided, like everyone didn't have access to water, or everyone didn't have access to electricity, or everyone didn't have food, then you might say that the country doesn't have a very high ease of life, or the ease of living is very low. Next word, outdoors. Being outside, close to nature, not in a building, away from the city. We saw it here with living outdoors is different. We're now comparing living in the city to living outdoors. And once again, outdoors is almost like nature. Outdoors is not inside a house. Outdoors can mean not being inside a house. But outdoors can also mean being in nature. So living outdoors is different than living in nature. Outdoors is outside, around things in nature, around the trees, the animals, not in a house, not necessarily close to the city. The kids are eating outdoors. So that just means the kids are outside eating. They're not inside the house. I grew up in the outdoors. I'm not used to city life. So I grew up in the outdoors doesn't mean the person didn't have a house to live in. It didn't mean he never slept in a bed inside a house. It just means that he was usually around nature. He was outside a lot of the time. He didn't necessarily grow up in a big city. He was always around trees and animals and plants and so on. So I grew up in the outdoors, not used to city life. Okay, whereas. Whereas means while. We saw whereas here where it said some people prefer city life, whereas others love being surrounded by nature. So whereas means some people prefer city life, while others love being surrounded by nature. That's what whereas means. It means while. In the example here, my brother loves being inside the house, whereas I love being outside. So my brother loves being inside the house, while I love being outdoors. Convenience, convenient. It's something that makes life easier. So it was used here with you're out in the wild. You don't have all the conveniences of the big city. That means The conveniences of the big city means the things that make living in the city, or the things in this, sorry, the conveniences of the big city means things in the big city that makes living a lot easier. So I might say, someone might ask me, what's so convenient about living in the big city? Then I might say, living in the big city is convenient because it's easy to get a taxi. Or living in the big city is convenient because it's easy to find new clothes. So a convenience is something that makes your life easier. It improves the ease of life. The example sentence was, having rich friends can be very convenient. So having rich friends is something nice to have, because if your friends are rich, they can give you stuff, or you can ask them for money. It's obviously not a nice thing to do, but it's very convenient. It makes it easy for you. So if it's convenient, it makes things easy for you. Electricity is a convenience we don't always appreciate. So electricity makes life easier. It's a convenience, but we don't always appreciate it. So electricity makes life easier, but we don't always appreciate it. We don't always understand just how special it is and how lucky we are to have electricity, because in some places people don't always have electricity. So electricity is a convenience of living in the city as opposed to living in nature. Okay, let's quickly work through this again, where I'll just explain the idea behind the story. You get two types of people: those who love the outdoors and those who don't, which is true. Usually you get people that grow up outside in nature, but then you get people who grow up in the big city. They grow up with all the cars, the big buildings, technology, and it's usually one of those two. Some people prefer city life, whereas others love being surrounded by nature. So some people say, hey, I prefer being in the big city. I prefer being in the city. I prefer being around the technology. I prefer having all these conveniences. I prefer being able to get a taxi and go anywhere I want very quickly, to buy new clothes, to buy a new phone, to go see my friends at Starbucks, at a cafe, to drink a coffee. So these are conveniences which are nice about the big city. But other people love being surrounded by nature. So you get the people that say, you know what, city life is nice, but I like being outside around the trees, the birds, the animals. I like walking through the grass. I like the fresh air, instead of being in a city where you have so many people and you don't have a lot of space, and everything is dirty and it's always noisy. So you get these two people, and both have their reasons for preferring one. Both have their benefits, which we just now said. The nice thing about living in the city is the ease of life, because living in the city is generally easier than living outside in nature on your own, where you don't have basic conveniences. The ease of life isn't as great as in the city. You're always close to everything you need, which is true. Oh, I want to go to the bathroom. Oh, I want a glass of water. Oh, I want a coffee. Oh, I want to do this or that. It's a lot easier than if you were outside in nature, in the outdoors, where everything isn't immediately available. You don't have to go far to find what you're looking for. Yeah, living outdoors is different. So living outdoors is almost the opposite. It's different. It's not the same. You're out in the wild. So when we talk about the wild, when you say you're out in the wild, that means nature, outdoors, around the animals, not in the city. You don't have all the conveniences of the big city. You don't have all those benefits, all those things that make life easier and nice. But there's one big benefit: peace and quiet. So outside, outdoors, in nature, It's not as noisy as the big city, sirens, cars driving to and fro, people screaming, just so much noise in the big city. Whereas outside, it's calm and peaceful. You hear the sound of the water in the river. You hear the birds singing. Peace and quiet, relaxing. Being surrounded by nature is calming and good for your health. You get to breathe fresh air, which is true. It's definitely better for your health having that fresh air instead of the polluted air because of all the cars and the industries in the city. You're able to slow down and relax. You're no longer distracted by the always busy life, because in the city you have all these things that are going on, so it's easy to become distracted. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, that looks nice. Whereas outside, you're just calm. Like they say, you become one with nature. So when you're in nature, you learn to enjoy the simple things in life. So the simple things in life would be basic things, not complicated things like making your food, talking to people, enjoying a nice rest like sleeping. Simple things, basic things. When you're in nature, you learn to enjoy these basic, simple things. So your life slows down. Okay, so you get two people, big city people and nature people. Some people love both as well. Okay, that was English Rewind, newsletter 11. Let's move on to newsletter number 12. English Rewind, newsletter 12. He's always late. Basic English. I waited for my friend for over an hour. He was late again. I told him I wouldn't be his friend anymore if this happened. I guess he didn't believe me. He's probably going to make a stupid excuse, and I'll probably forgive him again. It's been like this since we were children. He always breaks his promises. Why am I still friends with him? He's a nice guy, but I can't trust him. Okay. Advanced English. I waited for my friend for over an hour. He was beyond late. He knew better than this. I told him that if he stood me up like this again, our friendship would be over. I guess the threat didn't intimidate him. He's probably just going to show up and make some stupid excuse again. And then I'm probably going to forgive him for the millionth time. It's been like this since childhood. He's been breaking his promises since forever. Am I that desperate to remain friends with him? He's really a nice guy, but he's just not dependable. His word means absolutely nothing. Okay, key words, phrases, and expressions. Let's look at the first one. Beyond. More than, too much, or further than. It was used here with when his friend was late, he said he was beyond late, which translated means that he was super late. He was so late. He was more than late. So beyond is just further, more than. In the example sentence, my grandfather is beyond old. So he's very, very, very old. My grandfather is beyond old. He's like the Walking Dead. So he's like a zombie. He's just so old. He should have been dead by now. Your behavior is beyond me, which means I don't understand your behavior. I don't know why you're acting like this. So when you say that someone's behavior is beyond you, it means that the way you're behaving is beyond my ability to understand. So it's beyond my understanding the way you're behaving. So your behavior is beyond me. I just don't get it. I don't know why you're doing this. My spaceship was beyond the moon, which just means here's the moon, and there's your spaceship. It's on the other side of the moon. It's further than the moon. It's beyond the moon. It's not close to the moon. It's just way beyond it, further. Stood up, which was used here with, he knew better than this. I told him if he stood me up again like this, if he stood me up like this again, our friendship would be over. So stood up means to ignore someone or If someone forgets about you, especially when they said they would meet you. So if you got stood up by someone, it means that they didn't arrive like they promised. So if you had a meeting to, let's say, drink a coffee, and that person doesn't show up, then you say you got stood up. It means they didn't arrive, they didn't come like promised, they weren't there. I got stood up by my boyfriend again, which means my boyfriend didn't show up like promised. So he was just nowhere to be found. Threaten, which means to warn someone to not do something. And usually something bad happens if they don't listen. So we said it here with, I told him if he stood me up again like this, our friendship would be over. I guess the threat didn't intimidate him. So this threat means that he told his friend that if you're going to keep being late, then I'm not going to be your friend anymore. So that's a threat. When you say, if you do this, then I'm going to do this. Or if you don't do this, then I'm going to do this. Like, I threatened to shoot the thief if he moved. So the threat was, I'm going to shoot you if you move. So it's a threat. You warn someone to not do something. So he was warning his friend, don't be late again. And usually something bad happens if they don't listen. So the friend didn't listen. So what's going to happen? I'm no longer going to be his friend because he was late again. I threatened him. I'm not going to be his friend again. Or I threatened the thief that if he moved, I was going to shoot him. So that's a threat. Threaten, sorry. And threat is the same. The one was a verb, this is a noun. So a threat is an obstacle or a danger. So John was my biggest threat in the competition. He was the biggest danger. He was the thing that was in the way in the competition. So if something is a threat, that means it's dangerous to you. It can harm you. It's something that's in the way. Intimidate. To threaten, there's that word again, threat. Intimidate means to threaten or scare someone. So it was used here with, I guess my threat didn't intimidate him, which says, I guess the threat didn't scare him. I guess the threat didn't cause him to listen to me. Threat can also be kind of like a warning. So you can also read this like, I guess my warning didn't scare him. The threat didn't intimidate him. So intimidate. The man intimidated the girl with his scary voice. So intimidating is you're scaring someone. If I'm very strong and powerful and there's someone who isn't very strong and I use my strength to I don't know, I use my strength for something, they might feel intimidated by it, because it's when you intimidate something, it's like you become big and they feel small. That's what it means to intimidate someone. So the man's big voice intimidated the girl. She felt scared by it. She felt so small and weak against that big voice. I was too intimidated by the monster to run away. So once again, it's kind of feeling scared or threatened. So I felt intimidated. The monster's going to hurt me if I run away. The monster's going to chase me if I run away. So I felt intimidated. It's stronger than me. It's bigger than me. I feel so intimidated. I can't do anything. Desperate. To be serious about a great need or a great desire, which was used here. Am I that desperate to remain friends with him? Which means that do I really still want to be friends with him? Why am I always friends with him? Why am I so desperate to remain friends with him? Why is this so important to me? Why is this so special to me? Why don't I just move on? Why don't I get another friend? Why am I so desperate? So desperate is when you're serious about something, or when there's a great desire to do something. So why do I have such a big desire to be friends with him, especially when he's always late? I was desperate to marry someone kind and beautiful. So the man is desperate. It means he seriously wants to marry someone kind and beautiful. It's something very important to him. He needs it now. It's a great need. He has a great desire, so he's desperate. Oh, I desperately need to marry someone who's beautiful and kind. Or desperate, like, let's say you're thirsty. You're so thirsty. You've been walking outside in the sun the whole day, and you just want to drink water. So you can say, oh, I desperately need some water now. So there's a great need, a great desire. You're serious about it. Dependable, which means can be trusted. He's a really nice guy, but he's just not dependable. So his friend was nice, but his friend was always late. So he's not dependable, which means he can't be trusted. You can't believe what he says. He's not dependable. You can't depend on him. My father is the most dependable man I know. He always keeps his promises. So the father is dependable, meaning he can be trusted. When he says he'll do something, he does something. He's strong and he's stable. He's like a tree. So it's like a strong tree, so that when the wind comes, the tree doesn't fall over or break. The tree is always like this. It barely moves. So he's dependable, strong. You can trust him. He doesn't change what he says. He sticks to his promises. And that's what it means to be dependable. So my father is a dependable man. He always keeps his promises. Those were the key words. Okay. Let's quickly work through this again. I waited for my friend for over an hour. And this has happened to all of us before, where you have a meeting with someone and the person is late. So you wait 10 minutes for them, 20 minutes for them, perhaps even an hour for them, like in this story. So he was beyond late. He was so late. He was super late. He should have been here by now. And he knew better than this. So his friend knew that he wasn't supposed to do this. He knew better than this. He knew that this was wrong. He knew that he shouldn't be late. I told him, if he stood me up like this again, I told him that if he was late again and didn't come as promised, then our friendship would be over. So if he didn't arrive, or if he was very late again, then we would no longer be friends. So he was really tired of his friend doing this. I guess the threat didn't intimidate him. So I guess me warning him that I would no longer be his friend didn't scare him. He wasn't intimidated. He's like, whatever. He's probably just going to show up and make some stupid excuse again. So his friend was usually late. And when he arrived late, he would just be like, oh, I'm sorry. I had to take my mother to the dentist, or my alarm didn't go off, so I woke up late this morning, or I had a stomach pain, or it's just a stupid excuse. The taxi didn't show up. And a stupid excuse is sometimes a lie as well. So maybe the friend is also just lying. And then I'm probably going to forgive him for the millionth time. So that's obviously an exaggeration. He hasn't forgiven him a million times yet, but he's just saying, you know what? My friend's always making stupid excuses. He's always making an excuse as to why he was late, or as to why he didn't keep his promise. And for some reason, I always forgive him. I've done it so many times. So he says, I'm probably going to forgive him for the millionth time. It's been like this since childhood. So this guy has been friends with the other guy. They've been friends since they were young, since childhood. And since then, he's always the friend has been making excuses, not keeping his promises. And the other one has always just been forgiving him. He's been breaking his promises since forever. Once again, an exaggeration. Since forever. So it's like saying, he's always been doing this. He's been doing this since the day I met him. He's been doing this since we were kids. He's been doing this since we were friends. Since forever, he's been doing this. Am I that desperate to remain friends with him? So now he's asking himself that question. Why am I still friends with him? Why am I so desperate? Why am I so serious about this friendship? Why is this so important to me? Why don't I just leave him? Why? Why am I so desperate? He's a really nice guy, but he's just not dependable. So the friend was a nice person, but he couldn't be trusted. He wasn't dependable. So when he said yes, perhaps he meant no. Or when he said no, perhaps he meant yes. So he never knew what his friend meant. Oh, I promise I will be there. But then he's late again. So he wasn't dependable. You couldn't depend on him. His word means absolutely nothing. So when you talk about someone's word like that, it means, do they keep their promises? So his word means absolutely nothing. It means his promises means nothing. When he says he's going to do something, you can't trust him. Or when he says he's not going to do something, you can't trust him. His words mean nothing. His word means absolutely nothing. He can't be trusted. Okay, that was it for English Rewind newsletter 12. I hope it was useful. And don't forget to check out the newsletter as well. Please subscribe to the newsletter. If you like this video, please like it. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know how I can improve these. Let me know if it helps you. And until next time, cheers.